The gym lights hung like pale moons, chairs squeaked, programs shook in nervous hands. Phone cameras rose like tiny stars dot near the left aisle. A girl sat alone, Lily Harper, 17, in a neat blue dress under her gown. Her hands were folded, so tight her fingers looked stiff. Families leaned close together, smiling, crying, whispering. But Lily kept scanning the crowd for a face that wasn't looking away. When her name would be called, the room would cheer. She wouldn't hear it before. We go further. Where are you watching from? It's crazy how one story can travel across the world and still feel personal. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far kindness can reach. Grace Harper sat near the front, sharp and perfect in a dark blazer. People knew her. Some parents whispered her name like it was a title. Cu. Grace looked toward the stage, but her phone kept glowing in her lap. A deal, a board vote, a message marked urgent. She told herself she could do both, be a mother and be the woman everyone depended on. Beside her, Ava, her assistant, leaned in once. I can handle it, she whispered. Grace shook her head. No, it's fine. It wasn't, Lily had asked. For no special seating, no family section, no big show. She had signed it calmly days ago. Just come. That's all. Grace had promised. She was here now. But she was still not fully here. Lily sat alone by choice, but not by comfort. She didn't sit with friends. She didn't lean into anyone's shoulder. She watched the room like someone trying to understand a movie with the sound off. Ethan Cole sat in the back row with his small daughter, Mia, on his knee. He didn't match the fancy crowd. His shirt was clean, but his hands had the look of hard work, small cuts, rough skin. He had come because his sister worked at the school and begged him last minute. Just show up, she'd said. Please. Ethan almost said no. He was tired, money was tight. But Mia had smiled when he told her they'd go somewhere special. So he came. Mia played with his visitor badge and tried not to wiggle too much. Ethan noticed Lily because of one small thing. She clapped late, not just once, again and again. Everyone would clap, and Lily's hands would follow a second after, like she was reading the room instead of hearing it. Ethan knew that look. When Mia was born, doctors had warned him she might have hearing problems. Ethan had learned sign language with shaky hands and a stubborn heart. He learned simple signs for smoke, sleep, love, because he refused to let his daughter feel locked out of her own world. Now he watched. Lily's shoulders, tight, careful, like she didn't want to take up space. On stage, the principal began. Calling names, the room roared each time. Lily rose when others rose, sat when others sat. Her eyes kept drifting toward Grace. Grace was smiling at someone beside her. Then she glanced down at her phone again. Ava whispered something urgent. Grace. Half stood like she might step out. Lily saw the movement. Her face didn't change much, but her hands clenched in her lap. Then the principal lifted the next card. Lily Harper. Applause exploded. A loud ocean of sound. Lily stood because she saw everyone else standing. She adjusted her cap and began. Walking toward the stage, halfway down the aisle, she slowed. Too many faces, too much motion, too much noise she couldn't hear. It felt like the room was swallowing her. She looked toward her mother. Grace was still looking down. Ethan stood without thinking. Mia gripped his shirt. Daddy? It's okay, he whispered, though Mia couldn't fully understand why he was standing. Ethan raised his hands and signed, clear and gentle. You've got this. Lily froze. Her eyes locked onto him like a light turning on. Ethan signed again. Slower. I'm proud of you. Lily's lips parted. Her breath caught, and something in her expression broke open. Just a little like a door finally unlocking. Grace looked up at the exact wrong moment to see the exact right thing. a stranger signing to her daughter and Lily, smiling. If you were there in that moment, what would you have done? Would you have stayed silent or would you have stood up too? Comment your answer. And if you believe kindness still matters, hit like, because sometimes that's the only way to say, I see you. Ethan sat down fast, heart pounding. Mia stared toward Lily. Curious. Lily nodded once toward Ethan. A small thank you. Then she walked again, stronger, now toward the stage. Grace's phone screen dimmed. For the first time all night, she didn't touch it because she finally saw what she had been missing, and she had no idea how to fix it. Lily climbed the steps onto the stage, eyes forward, knees steady. The principal smiled wide, shook her hand, and turned slightly so the cameras could catch the moment. Lily mirrored the smile because she'd practiced it in the bathroom mirror smile. Pause, take the folder, walk. Simple dot, but inside her chest was loud dot. She couldn't hear the cheering. Yet she could feel the gym vibrating through the solace of her shoes. She felt it like thunder through the floor. She glanced once, quickly, toward the back row dot. Ethan was sitting again, Mia on his knee. He wasn't waving. He wasn't making a show. He was just watching her, calm and present, like he had nowhere else to be. Lily's throat tightened. She pressed the diploma cover to her chest for half a second before she remembered to keep walking. She stepped down the other side of the stage and returned to her chair, still alone, but not as invisible as before. Grace stayed frozen for a beat, phone dark in her hand. Ava leaned in. The board is calling again. They're waiting. Grace barely heard it. Her eyes followed Lily's path back to the seat, and something sharp moved through her. Guilt, maybe. Or fear. She'd always thought providing was love. She'd thought protection meant distance. But she had just watched a stranger offer Lily something Grace hadn't given in years. Effortless attention. When Lily sat, she didn't look at her. Mother again. She stared at the stage, blinking fast like she was holding something back. Grace wanted to reach out, wanted to wave, wanted to do something, but her hands stayed still, trapped by pride and habit. The ceremony rolled on. Names. Applause. Flashing cameras. Mia started to squirm. Ethan bounced her gently, whispering, "Almost done, sweetheart." Mia pointed toward the stage, then toward Lily, then made a messy little sign with her hands in attempt at friend. Ethan's heart squeezed. "You like her?" he whispered. Maya nodded hard. Ethan looked at Lily again and realized something simple. Lily wasn't just alone. She was used to being alone. When the last name was called, the principal launched into closing remarks. People began shifting, already thinking of photos and dinners and celebrations. Ethan's sister waved from the sidewall, giving him a tired thumbs dash up. Grace finally stood, smoothing her blazer like it was armor. Ava was already moving, guiding her toward the aisle. "Cars out front," Ava whispered. "We can take the call on the way." Grace's eyes flicked to Lily. Lily was still seated, waiting for the crowd to thin, like she didn't want to be bumped or brushed or spoken to in a language that never slowed down for her. Grace started toward her, one step, two, then her phone buzzed again. Ava lifted her brows. "Grace, it's now." Grace's jaw clenched. She looked at Lily's profile, soft, quiet, brave. She looked at the executives waiting behind her. She looked at the exit. And she chose the exit. Lily saw her mother turn away, not in a dramatic way, not in a cruel way. In the worst way, casual. Easy, like leaving was natural. Lily's face didn't crack. She didn't chase. She simply lowered her gaze, folded her hands again, and waited for the world to pass around her. Ethan saw it happen. He wasn't close enough to read words, but he read body language like a second language. He saw Grace's hesitation. He saw the phone. He saw the decision, and he saw Lily shrink by half an inch, like someone had pulled a thread from inside her, The ceremony ended in chaos, chairs scraping, people calling names, families pushing toward the stage for pictures. Lily remained seated until the aisle cleared, then stood and moved slowly toward the side wall. Away from the loud center. Ethan lifted Mia into his arms and followed at a respectful distance. Not to be creepy, not to intrude. Just because leaving Lily like that felt wrong. Near the hallway, Lily paused beside a trophy case. The glass reflected her cap and gown, her face pale in the bright lights. She took a small notebook from her pocket and wrote quickly, as if writing could hold her together. Ethan stopped a few feet away. Keeping space. Mia reached out a tiny hand. Waving at Lily, Lily noticed and softened. She offered a small wave back. Ethan swallowed, then signed gently. Careful and slow, so it was easy to read. Congratulations. Lily blinked, surprised again. She lifted her hands and signed back, a little hesitant but clear. Thank you. Ethan nodded, then pointed to Mia and signed, my daughter. Mia. Mia grinned and did her messy sign again. Ethan laughed under his breath. Lily's shoulders loosened. Just a little. Ethan signed, are you okay? That question, so simple, hit Lily harder than any applause. Because no one asked her that, not really. People asked how school was, how grades were, how her special program was going. But not are you okay, the kind of question that requires time. Lily stared at him for a long second. Her eyes dropped. Then she signed, small and honest. I don't know. Ethan didn't rush. He didn't pretend to fix it. He just nodded like he understood. And in that hallway full of rushing feet, Lily finally let out a breath that looked like it had been stuck for years. Have you ever had someone help you when no one else would? Right, yes, if you have. And if you feel like it, tell me their name. Sometimes gratitude deserves to be spoken out loud, even if it's late. Lily glanced toward the gym doors, where families were still pouring out, laughing, shouting, calling each other to gather for photos. She looked back at Ethan and Mia, then down at her notebook. She wrote something, tore the page cleanly, and held it out to Ethan with a hand that trembled just a little. On the paper, in neat block letters, it said, "Thank you for seeing me." Ethan's chest tightened. He took the note carefully, like it was fragile. He signed back, slower than before, because he meant every word. You deserve to be seen. Lily's eyes shone. She blinked fast, trying not to cry in public. Ethan shifted Mia on his hip. We should go, he whispered to Mia. Then he looked at Lily again and signed one last thing. Your mom. Is she coming back? The moment Lily read that, her face changed, just a flicker of old pain. She glanced toward the exit again, like she already knew the answer. Then, with a steady hand, she signed something that made Ethan's stomach drop. Because it wasn't about today. It was about always. Lily's hands moved slowly, like she was choosing every word from a heavy place. She's always busy. The signs were simple, but the meaning landed hard. Ethan didn't react too big. He didn't make a face. He just nodded, like he accepted the truth without judging her for saying it. Mia rested her head on Ethan's shoulder, sleepy now, thumb near her mouth. The hallway smelled like floor polish and warm plastic from the gym lights. People flowed past them in loud clusters, hugging, posing, laughing. Lily stood just outside all of it, like she was watching life through glass. Ethan sighed, "Do you have someone here? Family? Friends?" Lily glanced around. A few classmates passed by and waved quickly, their mouths forming congrats. She smiled, politely, but no one stopped. Then Lily signed, "I can go home. Home." That word should have sounded safe, but Lily's eyes didn't look safe when she signed it. Ethan hesitated, then pointed toward the gym doors and signed, "Pictures?" "You should have pictures." Lily's mouth twitched, almost a smile, almost a sadness. She signed, It's okay. Ethan had heard that phrase 1,000 times in different forms. People said it when they were fine. People also said it when they were not fine and didn't believe anyone would stay long enough to prove otherwise. He looked at the note in his hand. Thank you for seeing me. His throat tightened again. He signed, if you want. Mia and I can take one photo with you. Just one. Mia lifted her head as if she understood she was being included. She smiled at Lily, bright and easy. Lily stared, caught off guard by the offer. A stranger, a toddler, a normal moment that didn't cost anything. Lily's eyes watered. She blinked hard, then signed, small. Okay. So Ethan stepped slightly closer, still respectful, and pulled out his phone. He held it out to a passing teacher. Could you take one quick photo? The teacher nodded, happy to help. Lily stood beside Ethan, then hesitated, unsure where to put her hands. Mia reached out and grabbed Lily's sleeve like it was the most natural thing in the world. Lily startled, then softened, gently held Mia's tiny hand. The camera clicked in the photo. Lily was smiling real this time. Not practiced, not forced. A smile that reached her eyes. The teacher handed Ethan his phone back. Beautiful, she said warmly, then hurried away. Lily looked at Ethan's screen. The picture showed something Lily hadn't felt in a long time. Belonging. She looked up at Ethan and signed, sign language very well. Ethan gave a small, embarrassed shrug and signed, not perfect. I learned for her, and he nodded toward Mia. Lily's expression changed. Curiosity broke through her sadness. She signed. Mia is deaf? Ethan shook his head gently, signing carefully, not deaf. But she has trouble hearing. We're still learning. Doctors, tests. He paused, then added, sign helps us anyway. Lily stared at Mia with new tenderness. She signed, almost to herself, you're lucky. Ethan frowned slightly. Signed, Mia is lucky. She has you right now. You're kind. Lily looked away, embarrassed by the praise. Then she signed, my mom wanted hearing aids. She wanted me to fit. Ethan didn't interrupt. Lily continued, signing more. Like once the door opened, she couldn't close it again. She hired tutors, speech coach, lip reading. She said, the world won't wait for you. Ethan swallowed. He could almost hear Grace's voice through Lily's hand, sharp, practical, protective in a way that cut. Lily signed, I tried. I really tried. Her eyes shined again. She blinked, fighting tears. Ethan signed softly, I believe you. And that simple belief spoken with hands made Lily's shoulders sag, like she had been holding up a wall alone. Ethan wanted to ask about Grace, about why a mother would leave her child on a day like this, but he also knew life was complicated. People carried wounds you couldn't see. Still, he couldn't ignore what he'd witnessed. He signed, where is your dad? The moment he asked, Lily's face went still, not angry, not offended, just empty. She signed, he left. 2 words. A hole. Storm. Ethan's chest tightened. He nodded, slow and careful, giving her space to stop if she wanted. Lily didn't stop. She signed. He said he couldn't do it. Not the appointments. Not the silence. Not the attention. He said he felt useless. Lily's fingers shook. Ethan clenched his jaw. He had his own story with leaving his own partner who walked out when Mia was 2. Saying motherhood was too much. Saying she needed freedom. Ethan had learned to swallow anger and keep moving. Now he watched Lily carry the same kind of abandonment, packaged differently. Lily signed, after he left, my mom became colder. She said feelings don't pay bills. Ethan stared at her, stunned by the honesty. Lily's hands lowered. Her eyes dropped to the floor. When she looked up again, she signed one last line, quiet but brutal. I think she blames me. Ethan felt his heart twist. He wanted to say 100 things. He wanted to tell Lily she wasn't the reason anyone failed. He wanted to tell her she didn't need to earn love by becoming easier to handle. But he chose one thing. One true thing. He signed, slow and firm. You are not a burden. Lily stared at him like she didn't know how to hold that sentence. Like it was a gift too big for her hands. Behind them, the gym doors opened again. Grace stepped into the hallway, phone pressed to her ear, expression tight. Ava followed, whispering updates. Grace's eyes swept the hall and landed on Lily. Then she saw Ethan. Saw Mia. Saw Lily holding a photo pose, still in her body. Like she'd been smiling minutes ago. Grace's face hardened, not in anger at Lily. In confusion. And threat. She ended her call abruptly. I'll call back, she snapped, then marched toward them, heels sharp against the tile. Lily noticed and stiffened. The warmth in her face vanished fast, replaced by old caution. Grace stopped in front of Ethan like she was blocking sunlight. Who are you? Grace demanded. Ethan straightened, Mia still in his arms. He didn't match Grace's power, but he had something she didn't, calm. He signed first, then realized Grace didn't understand. So he spoke aloud, simple and polite. My name's Ethan. I was at the ceremony. He glanced at Lily, then back at Grace. I congratulated her. Grace's eyes narrowed. Why? The word wasn't curious. It was suspicious, Lily's. Hands rose quickly. She signed to Ethan, urgent. Please go. She doesn't like strangers. Ethan's stomach sank. Not because Grace was intimidating, but because Lily sounded scared of her own mother's reaction to kindness. Ethan adjusted Mia on his hip. He looked at Grace and kept his voice calm. I didn't mean to cause a problem. Your daughter seemed alone. Grace's jaw tightened. She's not alone. She has me. The lie hung between them like smoke. Lily's eyes dropped. Ethan saw that drop and felt something inside him burn, not anger. Exactly. Something like sadness mixed with courage. He nodded once. Of course, he said. Then he turned slightly toward Lily and signed, small and private. I'm sorry. Lily's lips trembled. She signed back, barely moving her hands. Not your fault, Grace. Watched their hands moving, unable to read a single word, and it made her feel locked out. That feeling being locked out hit her like a slap. And for the first time, Grace realized, this is what Lily feels every day. Now it's your turn, tell. Me one small good thing you did recently. It can be tiny. Hold a door, call a friend, help a stranger. Write it below. Because your simple act might remind someone tonight that people can still be gentle. Grace's voice dropped, colder. Lily, we're leaving. Lily didn't move right away. She looked at Ethan, then at Mia, then at her mother. Ethan could see the choice in her eyes, comfort or obedience. Lily signed to Ethan fast. Thank you. For everything. Ethan nodded, throat tight. Congratulations again, he whispered. Grace reached for Lily's elbow, not rough, but firm, controlling as they started down the hall. Lily looked back one last time. Ethan raised his hand in a small wave. Mia waved too, enthusiastic, like she had just made a friend she planned to keep. Lily's eyes shone. Then Grace guided her toward the exit, toward the waiting car, toward the life that looked perfect from the outside. But as Grace walked, her mind replayed those moving hands, Ethan's hands, and she felt something she hated. Feeling jealousy, not at Ethan, of the way Lily had looked at him, because for a moment, Lily had looked at him the way Grace had always wanted her to look. At her. And Grace didn't know how to earn it back. Not yet, but the truth was already moving under the surface. And it was about to break everything open. The car smelled like leather and cold air freshener. Grace sat in the back seat with Lily, phone in hand again, thumb moving like a reflex. Outside the tinted window, families posed for pictures under. The banner that read, "Congratulations, class of 2025. Smiles everywhere." Arms around shoulders, flowers, noise, inside the car silence. Lily stared at her own hands in her lap. Her fingers still remembered Ethan's words, like warmth left on skin after someone lets go. Grace cleared her throat. "You should have waited." "For me," she said, eyes still on the screen. Lily didn't answer. Grace glanced up, annoyed. "Lily." Lily turned her head slowly. Her face was calm, but the calm looked exhausted. She lifted her hands and signed. "You left." Grace's chest tightened. "I had to take a call." Lily signed again, precise dot, "You always have to." Ava sat in the front, pretending to check something on her tablet, pretending not to hear the tension, even though she could feel it like heat. Grace forced a softer tone. "We'll celebrate. Dinner tonight. Anywhere you want." Lily's mouth pressed into a line. She signed. "I don't want dinner." "I wanted you there." Grace flinched. "I was there." Lily signed slower, so there was no misunderstanding. "Your body was there." "Not you." The words, without sound, still hit Grace like a slap. Grace turned her face toward the window, jaw tight. Her reflection stared back at her. A woman who built skyscrapers out of decisions, but couldn't build a bridge to her own child. That night, Grace's penthouse was bright and sterile, like a showroom. The kitchen counters were spotless. The art on the walls was expensive and cold. A congratulatory cake sat on the island, ordered by Ava, perfect white frosting with gold letters. "You did IT, Lily?" Lily stood in the doorway, looking at it like it belonged to someone else. Grace tried again. "We can take pictures here. I'll post something, people will love it." Lily's eyes didn't move. She signed. "I don't want people. I wanna..." Mom. Grace opened her mouth, then closed it. Her throat worked as if she was swallowing something sharp. She reached toward Lily's shoulder, an awkward attempt at comfort, but Lily stepped back. "I'm tired," Lily said aloud. Her voice was soft and careful, shaped by years of speech training. She didn't speak often, but when she did, Grace always listened harder, like the words cost something. Lily turned and walked down the hall toward her room. Grace watched her go, then turned to Ava. "Is the board call still on?" Ava hesitated. "Yes, they're not happy about the delay." Grace's eyes hardened. "Put it through." She chose the call. Again. Upstairs. Lily shut her bedroom door and leaned against it. Her room was the only space in the penthouse that felt human. Posters, books, a small lamp with warm light. She opened her drawer and pulled out the folded page Ethan had never taken, the copy she'd kept after tearing the note. She stared at her own words. "Thank you for seeing me." Her eyes filled. She wiped them fast, angry at herself for crying on a day that was supposed to be proud. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Ethan, hey, it's the guy from graduation. My sister gave me your number. I hope that's okay. Just wanted to say congrats again." "You did amazing." Lily froze. She hadn't given her number. She hadn't asked for this, but her heart still jumped. She typed back slowly. "Lily, thank you. Please don't get in trouble for texting me." A few seconds later, "Ethan, no trouble. Just wanted you to know you weren't invisible today." Lily stared at the screen until her eyes blurred. Downstairs, Grace's board call dragged into night. Numbers, timelines, pressure. At one point, someone laughed too loud about image management. Grace laughed too, the way she always did when she wanted to sound unbothered. But her mind kept flashing back to Ethan's hands moving in the hallway, to Lily's small smile, to the note. Around midnight, Grace walked past Lily's door. She raised her hand to knock, then stopped. She could already imagine Lily's face, guarded, tired, closed. Grace walked away. The next morning, Grace's company hosted a media brunch planned months ago. She wore a white suit. She smiled for cameras. She spoke about community and inclusion and the future. The word inclusion tasted strange in her mouth. Lily stayed home. She sat at the kitchen island, eating cereal in silence, watching the news replay clips of Grace shaking hands, laughing, glowing. A caption read, CEO Grace Harper celebrates big week. No mention of Lily, no mention of graduation, no mention of the girl who sat alone. Lily's phone buzzed again. Ethan, how's your morning? Lily hesitated, then typed, Lily, quiet. My mom has an event. Ethan, that's hard. Want a distraction? Mia says pancakes for dinner. Lily stared at the message, a tiny warmth blooming in her chest. She typed back, Lily, pancakes are breakfast. Ethan, not in our house. In our house, pancakes are hope. Lily surprised herself by smiling. For the next week, Ethan became a small light on Lily's phone screen. Nothing romantic, nothing dramatic. Just steady, kind messages. Short videos of Mia learning a new sign. A picture of pancakes shaped like a heart. A joke written badly on purpose to make Lily roll her eyes. Lily started to reply more. Started to feel less alone. Grace noticed. Of course, Grace noticed everything. One evening, as Lily sat on the couch texting, Grace walked in from work and paused. Who are you talking to? Lily's hand stopped. She signed, a friend. Grace frowned. From school? Lily looked away. She signed from graduation. Grace's face tightened. That man? Lily didn't answer. Grace stepped closer, voice sharp. Lily, you don't know him. People want things. People use connections. Lily stood up. Her hands moved faster now, anger rising. He didn't want anything. He saw me. You didn't. Grace's eyes flashed. Don't talk to me like that. Lily's breathing quickened. Her hands shook as she signed because the truth was finally spilling out and she couldn't stop it. He learned my language in 5 minutes. You've had 17 years. Grace went still. The room felt suddenly smaller. Grace's voice lowered, dangerous. Give me your phone. Lily's eyes widened. She clutched it to her chest like it was oxygen. Grace reached. Lily stepped back. A vase on the side table rattled as Lily bumped it. It tipped, fell shattered across the hardwood. Both of them froze at the sound. Lily stared at the broken glass, then at her mother. Her chest rose and fell fast. The fear on her face wasn't just about a phone. It was about losing the only person who had made her feel seen. Grace looked at the shattered vase, then at Lily's trembling hands, and something in her expression shifted, just a crack, because she finally understood what she was really fighting. Not a stranger, a bond she hadn't built. And in the silence, Grace whispered, almost to herself, why does he matter so much to you? Lily lifted her hands, tears pooling, and signed a sentence that hit Grace like a punch. And if that moment hit you hard, leave a... Sometimes one small symbol says what our hearts can't. Lily signed, because he makes me feel like I'm not broken. Grace's lips parted, but no words came. The broken glass glittered on the floor like tiny pieces of truth, and powerful Grace stood there, realizing she had been trying to fix Lily for years. When Lily had never needed fixing at all. Grace didn't sleep that night. She sat at the edge of her bed, while the city glowed outside the windows, lights pulsing like a heartbeat she couldn't calm. Her mind kept replaying Lily's hands in. The air clear, shaking, honest. He makes me feel like I'm not broken. Grace pressed her palm to her forehead. She had spent years telling herself she was being strong, practical, protective. She had told herself the world would be cruel. So she had to make Lily tougher, but what if she'd been the cruelest part of Lily's world? At 2:13 a.m., Grace opened a drawer she almost never opened. Inside were old papers she never threw away, birth documents, medical reports, early therapy notes. She pulled out a folder labeled LIL, audiology. She flipped through pages until her eyes found a line she had tried to forget. Patient demonstrates severe bilateral hearing loss. Family advised to consider bilingual approach, spoken language plus sign language. Grace's throat tightened. Bilingual approach, sign language. The doctors had recommended it from the start. Grace remembered that day. The hospital smell, the fluorescent lights. She remembered the doctor's calm face. She remembered herself nodding, asking only one question. Can she be normal? She hadn't asked, can she be happy? She flipped further and found another paper, one she hadn't seen in years. A handwritten note from an older specialist, Dr. Ramirez. Mother appears overwhelmed. Strongly recommend family counseling. Child's self-worth will depend on emotional access at home. Grace's hands trembled. Emotional access she had built walls and called them safety. She closed the folder and stared into the dark. In her mind, she saw Lily sitting alone at graduation, not crying, not begging, just waiting. Waiting for love to arrive. And Grace hadn't arrived. The next morning, Grace did something she had not done in a very long time. She cleared her schedule. Ava almost dropped her tablet when Grace said it. You want me to cancel the investor? Lunch too? Grace's voice was flat. Everything. Ava blinked. Grace, the board. Grace's eyes were sharp but tired. They can wait. Ava hesitated, then nodded slowly, as if she'd just witnessed a rare eclipse. Grace walked upstairs and knocked on Lily's door softly once, then twice. No answer. Grace swallowed. Lily, it's me. The door opened a few inches. Lily's face appeared, guarded, puffy-eyed, like she'd cried in secret. Grace lifted her hands awkwardly. She didn't know the words. She didn't know the signs. But she tried anyway. Her fingers moved wrong, uncertain. Lily watched. Confused. Grace spoke aloud, voice quieter than usual. I'm sorry. Lily didn't respond. Her eyes stayed cautious, like she'd been disappointed too many times to accept an apology. Without proof, Grace nodded once, accepting that. Can we go for a drive? Just us. Lily hesitated. Then she stepped back and let Grace in. They drove without music, without small talk. The city faded into quieter streets, then into a neighborhood of small homes and wide sidewalks. Grace's penthouse world fell behind them like a costume removed. Lily watched out the window, confused. Grace's hands gripped the steering wheel too tightly. Finally, Grace parked in front of a modest building with a sign that read, Community Hearing and Language CNTR. Lily turned sharply. Her hands rose. Why are we here? Grace took a breath. Because I was wrong, she said. The words tasted like metal. And I want to learn. I want to learn your language. Lily stared at her, stunned. Grace's eyes were wet, but she didn't let tears fall. I thought I was helping you by pushing you, but I wasn't listening. Not really. Lily's hands hovered, unsure what to do with this new version of her mother. Grace added, almost breaking, I don't want a stranger to be the only person who can reach you. Lily's face tightened at Ethan's mention, but she didn't sign anything. She just stared. Inside the center, the air smelled like coffee and carpet. Posters on the walls showed hands forming letters. A receptionist smiled warmly. Grace approached the desk like she was stepping into a place where her money couldn't save her. I'd like to register, Grace said, for sign language classes. The receptionist's smile widened. For you? Grace nodded. For me. Lily watched like she couldn't believe it was real. They sat in the waiting area while the receptionist printed forms. Across the room, a young man signed with his grandmother, both laughing at a mistake. A little girl signed a story to her. Father, her hands flying like birds. Grace's chest ached. This was what Lily had needed. Not speeches, not pressure, connection. Lily's phone buzzed. She looked down. Grace saw the name on the screen. Ethan. Lily tilted the screen away. Grace's stomach twisted jealousy again, but beneath it was something worse. Regret. Grace whispered, "You can answer it." Lily looked up, suspicious. Grace exhaled. "I'm not here to take him away. I'm here to earn my place back." Lily stared for a long moment, then typed quickly. Grace watched Lily's thumbs move and realized Lily had learned to communicate in a dozen ways because Grace never learned even one. That afternoon, they attended the first beginner class. Grace sat among college kids and grandparents, all learning the alphabet with clumsy hands. Grace, who could negotiate million-dollar contracts, struggled to form a simple L. She messed up constantly. She laughed once, small and embarrassed. Lily watched her with a strange expression, part disbelief, part something softer. The teacher, a kind woman named Marisol, encouraged Grace. Everyone starts somewhere. Grace glanced at Lily. "I should have started 17 years ago." Lily's eyes dropped. After class, they walked outside into late sun. The light was warm, gentle, like a second chance. Grace stopped on the sidewalk and lifted her hands again, trying the sign Marisol had taught them. Sorry, it wasn't perfect. Her fingers were stiff, but the effort was real. Lily stared at the sign, then slowly lifted her own hands. She corrected Grace's fingers gently, patiently moving them into the right shape. Grace's breath caught. That tiny touch felt like forgiveness beginning. Not finished, but beginning. They drove home in softer silence, but the peace didn't last long, because when they reached the penthouse lobby, a man in a dark suit was waiting one of Grace's board members, Michael Trent. His expression was polite but angry. "Grace," he said, voice low, "we need to talk. Now." Grace's shoulders stiffened. "I can wait." Michael's smile was thin. "It can't. Your absence is becoming a pattern, and investors are concerned." Grace felt old panic rise, the instinct to fix, to perform, to please the machine she'd built her life around. Lily stood beside her, watching their mouths move, catching fragments, reading tension. Grace looked down at Lily, at the girl she had almost lost to loneliness. Then Grace looked back at Michael, and she knew this was the moment. Be honest. Could you forgive after what they did? Type forgive if you could. Or never if it would break you too deeply. Grace's voice came out steady. "I'm choosing my daughter." Michael's eyes widened. "Grace, don't be emotional." Grace laughed once, bitter. "I wasn't emotional when she needed me." "Look where that got us." Michael leaned closer, voice sharp. "If you keep doing this, you'll lose the board." Grace's heart pounded. Power had always been her shield. Losing it felt like stepping into a storm without armor. But Lily's hand quietly touched Grace's sleeve. Just a light touch, not a hug, not full trust, but a signal. "I'm here." Grace inhaled and said, "Then I lose it." Michael's face hardened. "You're making a mistake." Grace held his gaze. "No, I'm finally correcting one." Michael turned and walked away, suit swaying like a threat. Grace's knees felt weak as she and Lily entered the elevator. The doors closed. The silence inside was thick. Grace stared at her own reflection in the mirrored wall, her eyes raw, her face human. She looked at Lily. "I don't know if you can forgive me," she admitted, "but I'm going to keep learning, even if it's slow." Lily watched her, unreadable. Then Lily lifted her hands and signed something small, so small Grace almost missed it. "Try again." Grace's chest tightened. She nodded, fighting tears. But upstairs, as the elevator climbed, Grace's phone buzzed with another message, this time from Ava. "Emergency." Board is voting to remove you as CEO. Meeting in 1 hour. Grace's breath stopped. She looked at Lily. She looked at the message, and she realized redemption wasn't going to be quiet or easy. It was going to cost her everything. And she would have to decide again what mattered most. Grace stared at the message until the letters blurred. Her thumb hovered over the screen, ready to call Ava, ready to run back into the world where she always knew what to do. Then she looked at Lily. Lily was watching her mother's face, reading the fear she didn't need sound to understand. Lily's hands rose slowly. Bad, Grace swallowed. The board, she said. They want to remove me. Lily's eyes widened, but her face stayed strangely calm, like she had grown up watching storms. Grace tried to breathe through it. There's a meeting in an hour. Lily nodded once, then signed something that made Grace's throat tighten. You. Always choose them. Grace flinched because it was true. Grace paced the living room, heels clicking sharply. Ava's next message came fast. They're using neglect of duties and unstable leadership as reasons. Michael is leading it. Grace felt heat rise behind her eyes. Michael Trent, of course. He had been waiting for weakness like a hunter waits for a limp. Grace grabbed her blazer from the chair. I need to go, she said, voice automatic, Lily's. Hands moved, quick. What about class? What about learning? Grace stopped. The words hit like a hand on her chest. I can't lose everything, Grace whispered. Lily stepped closer, gaze steady. Her hands moved slower now, deliberate, like she was placing stones one by one. You already lost me. Grace's breath caught. Her shoulders sagged. She sat down hard on the couch, the blazer sliding from her fingers to the floor. For years, Grace had believed one thing. If she kept winning, Lily would be safe. Money meant resources. Power meant control. Control meant no surprises, no pain, but Lily had been in pain anyway. Quiet pain. Invisible pain. Grace covered her mouth with her hand, trying not to break. I don't know how to do both, she admitted. Voice shaking. I don't know how to be enough. Lily stared at her for a long moment. Then Lily reached out and carefully, like it was unfamiliar, took Grace's hand. Lily guided Grace's fingers into a shape. Not perfect, but close. It was the sign Grace had been practicing. Sorry. Then Lily pointed gently at Grace's chest and signed. Now, Grace's eyes filled. You want me to stay? Lily nodded once, firm. Then signed something that felt like a knife and a medicine. At the same time, if you go, you will go forever. Grace looked down at her phone, vibrating again. Another message. Another call. Her whole life had been built on urgency. Grace's hand trembled as she opened. The contact list. Ava. Michael. The board chair. She could still run. She could still fight. She could still win, and Lily would watch her leave again. Grace locked her screen and placed the phone face down on the table, like she was putting a weapon away. I'm staying, Grace said. Lily's shoulders dropped, relief flashing across her face so quickly it almost didn't appear. But it was there. Grace inhaled a shaky breath. But they'll take my company. Lily signed, simple and certain. Then you can build again. Grace stared at her daughter like she didn't recognize her strength. The strength Grace had tried to force. Lily already had it. Lily had built it alone. Grace's found best again. She didn't look. Instead, she stood and lifted her hands, clumsy but determined. She signed the only words she truly had right now. I stay. Lily blinked hard and signed back. Thank you. That evening, Grace sat with Lily at the kitchen table, no assistants, no calls, watching sign language videos and practicing the alphabet with ink-stained paper. Grace's fingers cramped. She laughed at herself, embarrassed. Lily corrected her patiently. It was awkward, slow, real. But outside that small circle of light, The corporate world moved like a machine, sharpening its teeth. At 8:06 p.m., Ava called. Again, Grace didn't answer. At 8:12, a news alert popped up on Grace's phone. Grace Harper to face board vote amid leadership questions. Grace's stomach dropped. Lily saw the notification and stared. Her hands rose because of me. Grace grabbed Lily's hands gently. No, she said, urgent. Never because of you. Lily's eyes searched her face, needing truth like oxygen. Grace signed messy but clear enough. Not your fault. Lily's eyes watered. She nodded once. Then Lily's phone buzzed. Ethan again. Lily hesitated, glancing at Grace like she expected anger. Grace exhaled. Answer, she said softly. He's been kind. Lily typed, Hi. Second later, Ethan replied, Hey, Mia's asking about you. Are you okay? Lily looked at Grace, then back at her phone. She typed slowly, My mom is trying. Grace felt her throat tighten at those words. Trying, not fixed. Not perfect. But trying. Ethan responded, That matters. Tell her I'm rooting for both of you. Grace blinked fast, surprised by the kindness from someone she'd treated like a threat. In that moment, Grace felt something dangerous and unfamiliar. Humility. The next day, the board meeting happened without her. They voted without her in the room. They removed her by email. Ava arrived at the penthouse with red eyes and a folder. They did it, she whispered. Michael is interim. Effective immediately. Grace took the folder with a steady hand that didn't feel steady inside. She was no longer CEO of the empire she built. She was just Grace, a woman standing in her own living room, holding papers that said she'd been replaced. Lily stood behind her, watching. Grace turned slowly. I'm sorry, she said again, voice quiet. This is my fault. I should have, Lily interrupted with hands. Stop blaming. Start living, Grace stared. Stunned. Lily pointed to the folder, then to Grace, then to herself. Her hands moved carefully, like she was building a sentence that would change both their lives. We can make something new. Together. Grace's lips trembled. Together, she repeated. Then the penthouse doorbell rang. Ava frowned. Are you expecting someone? Grace shook her head. Ava opened the door. Ethan stood there with Mia on his hip and a small paper bag in his hand. He looked nervous, like he knew he was stepping into a world that didn't belong to him. I'm sorry, he said quickly. I didn't want to intrude. Lily gave me the address, just in case. I brought pancakes. Mia waved at Lily like they were old friends. Lily's face lit up, pure and bright. Grace's chest tightened. A week ago, she would have shut the door. Now she stepped back and let them in. Ethan held up the bag awkwardly. It's silly, but in our house, pancakes are hope. Grace swallowed. Thank you, she managed. Ethan glanced at her, careful. I heard about the board, he said quietly. I'm sorry. Grace nodded once. I chose my daughter. Ethan's eyes softened. Then you chose right. Lily watched them both, hands near her chest like she was holding something precious. If you believe love still wins, comment Amen. Let's fill this moment with hope, because someone reading right now might need to see proof that people can change. They sat at the kitchen island together, Grace, Lily, Ethan, and Mia eating pancakes like it was the most normal thing in the world. Mia giggled when Lily signed more. Ethan showed Grace the sign for thank you again, slowly, patiently. Grace copied it badly, but with a real smile this time, for the first time in years. The penthouse didn't feel like a showroom. It felt like a home. But then Ethan's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and his face changed. He looked up at Grace and Lily, and his voice dropped. I think you both need to know something. Lily tilted her head, confused. Grace's stomach tightened. What? Ethan swallowed hard, then said the words that cracked the air open. Michael, Trent isn't just taking your company. He paused, eyes heavy. He's coming after Lily, too. Grace went cold. What do you mean? Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded envelope, worn like it had been opened and closed too many times. I didn't know if I should bring this, he whispered, but after today, I can't stay quiet. He placed the envelope on the table. Grace stared at it like it was a bomb. On the front, in neat official print, were the words, Petition for Guardianship Review. Grace's hands started to shake. Lily leaned forward, eyes wide, not fully understanding the words, but understanding the fear. Ethan looked at Lily, then at Grace, and quietly, almost broken, he said, I think this started a long time ago, with a secret you were never told. Grace couldn't breathe for a second. The kitchen light felt too bright. The air felt too thin. Guardian what? She whispered, staring at the envelope like it might bite. Ethan kept his voice low, careful, like he was trying not to scare Mia. A guardianship review, he repeated. It's a legal move. They claim you're unstable, that you're not fit right now. Lily watched their mouths, catching only pieces. Her eyes darted between them. Lily lifted her hands. What is it? Grace's chest tightened. She turned to Lily, fighting panic, and signed the best she could slow. Clumsy, but clear enough. They want to take you. Lily went still, her face strained. Ethan slid the envelope closer. My sister saw it at the school office, he said. Michael's name was on the paperwork. He filed it quietly. Like a business decision, Grace's hands curled into fists. Why would he do that? Ethan hesitated. Grace, there's something you need to know. Ava hovered near the counter, pale. Ethan, if you're not sure, I'm sure, Ethan said. His eyes were tired, serious. Because my sister didn't just see paperwork. She saw an attachment, a copy of a document. Grace stared. What document? Ethan exhaled. Lily's hearing-related trust. Grace blinked. Her what? Ethan nodded slowly. There's money set aside in a protected fund. For Lily, for support services, education, accessibility. The fund is significant. Grace's stomach dropped. That's not possible. I would know. Ethan's voice softened. Would you? The question hit hard. Grace's mind raced. Back years of lawyers, estate planning, paperwork she'd signed without reading because she trusted her firm. The same firm Michael had ties to. The same board that now replaced her. Lily signed quickly, hands shaking. Money? Why money? Grace tried to answer, but the words stuck. She looked at Ethan like she needed him to keep speaking because she couldn't. Ethan reached into his bag and pulled out a smaller folded page, an old printout. My sister made a copy, he said, and slid it over. Grace opened it with trembling. Fingers dotted the top was an old letterhead and a date from years ago, right after Lily's diagnosis. Beneath it was a line that made Grace's heart stop. Beneficiary, Lily Harper. Trustee, Michael Trent, acting, contingent upon Grace Harper's incapacity or removal. Grace's vision blurred. No, she whispered. No, this can't be real. Ava reached over Grace's shoulder and covered her mouth. Oh my God. Grace's hand shook so badly the paper rattled. Michael was never supposed to be anywhere near my child. Ethan's voice went rough. He's been near her the whole time, just not in person. Lily watched Grace's face fall apart. Lily stepped closer, scared now. Mom. Grace looked at her daughter, at those wide eyes, that quiet bravery, and felt something snap inside her. This wasn't business. This was war. Grace grabbed her phone and called Ava's legal contact and stopped. She didn't have that power anymore. Not as CEO, not with the firm tied up in board politics. Her hands clenched. They planned this, she said, voice shaking with rage. They waited for me to look weak. They used my choice, my one choice, to be a mother, as proof. I can't lead. Ethan nodded. And if they take Lily, they get control of the fund? Lily stared at Ethan, horror spreading. She signed slowly. They want me for money. Ethan's eyes softened. He nodded once, sadly. Lily's mouth opened, then closed. Her hands dropped to her sides like they'd suddenly become too heavy to lift. She took a step back like the floor had tilted. Grace moved toward her. Lily flinched away. Not from Grace's touch, more from the idea that she was an object in someone's plan. Lily signed, fast and messy, anger mixing with fear. So I am a burden. I am a problem. I am a prize. Grace's eyes filled. No, she said aloud, voice breaking. No, Lily, you're my daughter. Lily's hands flew again. Then why did you let him get this close? Why didn't you know? Grace had no answer that didn't hurt. She had trusted systems. She had trusted her control. She had trusted that being powerful meant being safe. She had been wrong. Ethan stepped in gently. Lily, he said softly. This isn't your fault. Lily stared at him. The same sentence again. The same lifeline. But this time, it didn't land as easily. Because the world had just shown her how people could turn her life into a contract. Ava spoke quietly, voice trembling. We need a lawyer who isn't connected to the board. Someone independent. Grace nodded. I know one, she said, and her eyes sharpened. Rachel Kim. She hated Michael even before all this. She help. Grace grabbed her keys. We go now. Ethan looked at Mia, who was rubbing her eyes. It's late. Grace's voice was firm. Then Mia can sleep in the car. But we moved tonight. Lily didn't move. She stood frozen near the sink, face pale. Grace turned to her softer. Lily, please. Lily lifted her hand slowly, like she was pulling herself back together with effort. I'm scared. Grace nodded, tears spilling now. I am too. Lily's gaze flicked to Ethan, then back to Grace. Her hands moved with a painful honesty. If they take me, will you fight or will you work? Grace felt the question like a blade because Lily wasn't asking about court. She was asking about love. Grace stepped forward and carefully, gently took Lily's hands. She signed the words she knew, imperfect but true, I fight. I stay, Lily's eyes filled. She nodded once. They moved fast after that. Ava gathered documents. Ethan packed snacks and a blanket for Mia. Grace grabbed the folder, the papers, the envelope proof of betrayal. As they rushed out, Grace's phone lit up with a news alert. Michael Trent appointed interim CEO, promises stability after Grace Harper's removal. Grace's jaw tightened. He's smiling on camera, she muttered, while he tries to steal my child. They reached the elevator. The doors slid shut. The mirrored walls reflected 4 people pressed together by fear and purpose. Ethan looked at Grace. There's one more thing, he said. Grace's eyes snapped to him. What? Ethan swallowed. My sister said Michael has been visiting the school, quietly, talking to staff, asking about Lily's behavior. Lily's face tightened. Ethan continued, voice low. And she said he told someone that Lily doesn't need her mother anymore. The elevator felt suddenly too small. Grace's hands clenched. He doesn't get to decide what my daughter needs. Lily stared at the floor, then lifted her hands and signed something that made Grace's breath catch, something that sounded like courage being born out of pain. Then let's show him. Grace nodded, fierce tears on her cheeks. They walked into the night toward the car, toward a lawyer's office, toward a fight they didn't want but couldn't avoid. And if you feel hope rising even in this mess, comment amen. Because sometimes hope isn't a soft feeling. Sometimes it's a decision to stand up when everything Tries to push you down. Grace started the engine, hands steady now. Lily sat beside her, heart racing. Ethan buckled Mia into the back seat. Blanket tucked under her chin dot as the city blurred past them. Lily looked at Grace and signed one more thing, small but strong. Don't leave. Grace swallowed hard and signed back, clearer than before. Never again. But the moment they pulled onto the highway, Grace's phone rang from an unknown number. Ava glanced at it. Answer? Grace hesitated, then tapped speaker. A smooth male voice filled the car. Grace, it said, almost friendly. Michael Trent. I hear you're making moves, he said. Let's not make this ugly. Grace's blood went cold. You already did. Michael chuckled softly. You lost your company. Don't lose your daughter, too. Lily's eyes widened, reading Grace's face, feeling the threat even without sound. Grace tightened her grip on the wheel. What do you want? Michael's. Voice dropped, sharp as glass. I want what you owe me. And then he said a sentence that made Grace's stomach fall through the floor. You know Lily isn't yours by blood, right? The car went silent in the cruelest way. No one spoke because no one could. Grace's hands locked on the steering wheel. Her knuckles turned white. The highway lights streaked across the windshield like rushing ghosts. What did you just say? Grace whispered. Michael's voice on speaker stayed smooth, almost pleased. I said, Lily isn't yours by blood. You signed papers, Grace. You built your perfect story. But the truth? The truth has always been filed. Ava's breath hitched. Ethan's eyes widened in the rearview mirror. Lily looked from face to face, trying to understand. Her hands rose. Shaky. What? Grace's mouth opened, but nothing came. The word blood felt like a foreign thing. She looked at Lily, at her daughter's eyes, her mouth. The shape of her face she knew better than her own reflection, and her chest burned. Michael, Grace said, voice low and trembling. Don't. You dare, Michael chuckled again. You don't remember, do you? You were desperate. You wanted a child. You wanted a family picture that matched the penthouse. You didn't ask enough questions. Grace's eyes filled with tears so fast. She almost couldn't see the road. That's a lie. It's not. Michael paused, savoring it. And if you make this difficult, I'll make sure Lily hears it from someone else, someone less gentle. Ethan leaned forward. You're a sick man, he said, voice tight. Michael ignored him. Here's my offer, he said. Stop fighting. Let the guardianship review happen quietly. I'll ensure Lily has resources, the best schools, the best services. I'll be the stable adult. Grace's voice cracked into rage. You're not an adult, you're a predator in a suit. Michael's tone cooled. Choose your next words carefully. Grace's eyes flicked to Lily again. Lily was watching her mother's face with growing fear, seeing the way Grace shook, the way her lips trembled. Grace forced herself to breathe. We'll see you in court, she said. Michael laughed once, short and cruel. Court? Grace, you don't even have your legal team anymore. And then, almost casually, he said, oh, one more thing. If you keep Ethan around, I'll dig into his life too. Single dads don't have spotless histories, you understand? Ethan's jaw tightened. Don't threaten my daughter. Michael's voice softened to mock sympathy. Then stay in. Your lane, mechanic. Grace ended the call with a hard tap. The speaker went dead. The car filled with the sound of tires on asphalt and Mia's tiny breathing in the back seat. Lily's hands rose again. Desperate now, Mom. Tell me. Grace's throat felt tight, like it was closing. She didn't want to say anything wrong. She didn't want to shatter Lily with half-truths. But the poison was already in the air. Silence would only make it worse. Grace pulled off the highway into a quiet parking lot beside a closed grocery store. She put the car in park. Her chest rose and fell fast. Ava turned in her seat, eyes wet. Ethan held Mia closer, protecting her. From the tension, Grace faced Lily. Lily, she whispered, I need you to look at me. Lily looked. Her eyes were wide, terrified. Grace lifted her hands. Her signs weren't perfect, but she forced them out with all the love she had left. I love you. Lily stared, lips trembling. Grace signed again, then spoke softly too, layering meaning in every way she could. I love you. I love you. You're my daughter. Lily's hands shook as she signed back. He said, I'm not yours. Grace nodded once, because lying now would make the future worse. Tears slid down her cheeks. She signed slow. I don't know yet. Lily's face crumpled. The pain was instant, sharp, like a glass breaking inside her. Grace reached out, and this time Lily didn't step back. Lily's body shook with silent sobs as Grace wrapped her arms around her. Grace held her like she should have held her 1,000 times before. Ethan looked away, blinking hard. Ava covered her mouth. Grace whispered into Lily's hair, voice ragged. Even if something happened before you remember, it doesn't change what's real. I raised you. I'm here. I'm staying. Lily pulled back enough to sign, angry through tears. Then why didn't you learn my language before? Why did a stranger do it first? Grace flinched because she deserved the question. She signed with shaking hands. I was afraid. Lily's brows knit. Grace continued, honest and broken. I thought if you were like them, they wouldn't hurt you. I didn't see I was hurting you. Lily's tears fell faster. She signed something small and brutal. I needed you. Grace nodded hard, sobbing now. I know, she whispered. I know, and I'm sorry. They sat there for a long moment, breathing together, holding onto the only ground they had left. Truth. Then Ethan cleared his throat softly. Grace, he said, Michael didn't say that for Lily. He said it for you, to break you. Grace wiped her face, trying to focus. So what do we do? Ava exhaled in forced steadiness. We get Rachel. We file emergency protection. We request an injunction against Michael contacting Lily or the school. We take control of the narrative. Grace nodded, mind sharpening. And we find the truth about her birth, about the trust, about every paper I signed. Lily looked up, eyes red, and signed something that made Grace's heart ache. I don't care about blood. I care about who stays. Grace's chest cracked open. She signed back, clearer now, stronger. I stay. Ethan nodded. And I'll testify, he said. I'll tell the court what I saw. A girl left alone. A mother trying to change. A man using her disability as leverage. Grace inhaled. Thank you. Ethan gave a small, tired smile. Don't thank me. Just don't let her be alone again. Lily looked at Ethan, then signed to him. Don't leave either. Ethan blinked, surprised, then nodded. I won't, he said softly. They drove to Rachel Kim's office, a small building with one light still on. Rachel opened the door in jeans and a sweater, hair tied back, eyes sharp. I got your messages, Rachel said. Come in. Tell me everything. They sat around a worn wooden table. Not a boardroom. Not glossy. Real. Grace placed the trust. Document down. The guardianship petition. The envelope. Rachel's eyes narrowed as she read. This is dirty, she said. But it's not unbeatable. Grace's voice was steady now, fueled by something deeper than ambition. What's our first move? Rachel looked at Lily. Lily, she said gently, I'm going to fight for your right to choose where you live. But I need you to tell the truth about your home, about your mom, about how she treats you. Lily's hands trembled. She looked at Grace searching. Grace nodded, tears returning. Tell her the truth, Grace whispered. Even the parts that make me look bad. Lily swallowed. Then Lily signed slowly, Courage in every motion. My mom made mistakes. She didn't listen. She left me alone. But she is trying now. She learned my language. She stayed. She chose me. Rachel watched, moved. That matters, she said. A lot. Grace's throat tightened. She turned to Lily and signed, "Thank you." Lily's lips trembled into the smallest. Smile. And if this story moved you, don't scroll past quietly. Tap like not for me, but for the soul who carried this pain and still stayed kind. One click can be your way of saying, "I felt you." Rachel began writing fast. "We file tonight," she said. "Emergency order. No contact, and we subpoena everything tied to that trust." Grace leaned back, exhausted but alive. "And the blood claim?" she asked quietly. "Is it true?" Rachel's eyes hardened. "We'll find out. But listen to me, blood doesn't decide motherhood in court the way people think. Consistency does. Care does. Safety does." Grace looked at Lily, and the moral arrived softly, like warm light after rain. Love isn't proven by titles or DNA or perfect photos. Love is proven by who learns your language, by who shows up when it costs them, by who stays, especially after they finally understand the damage they did. That night, Grace walked out of the office without her CEO badge, without her empire, without the armor she used to hide behind. But she walked out holding Lily's hand, really holding it. And Lily, for the first time in her life, didn't feel like a problem to solve. She felt like a person worth staying for. Love is proven by who learns your language. By who shows up when it costs them. By who stays, especially after they finally understand the damage they did. That night, Grace walked out of the office without her CEO badge, without her empire, without the armor she used to hide behind. But she walked out holding Lily's hand, really holding it. And Lily, for the first time in her life, didn't feel like a problem to solve. She felt like a person worth staying for.